While we all know that Digimon typically originate from the digital world, there are a few characters, both human and otherwise, who come from separate worlds or even other universes. Let's look at some of them and talk about which worlds and universes that they've visited. So first of all, probably the most well-known of these characters that has originated from a different world or universe would definitely have to be Ryo, who is the main character in the WonderSwan, what are called the WonderSwan Ryo games. So most of the games that originated on the WonderSwan console or handheld are games that sort of feature this character called Ryo. Now, in terms of outside of Japan, he appeared in the background of 02 and as well as the Digimon movie, but other than that, in terms of the English release, he was kind of just an unknown character for this time. His reason for appearing in 02 is as a background character as part of Ken's backstory, where he visited the digital world when he was younger, and this effectively is from the events of the second WonderSwan game that features Ryo and Ken. It's called Tag Tamers, where you kind of rotate between playing as Ryo and playing as Ken. And this is obviously the same Ken from 02. Now, because this game never got a release in the West, it got a release in Hong Kong, the first one, but the second one didn't. It was just kind of a blink and you'll miss it background character who, if you're paying attention at the time, you probably wondered who this character was. So Ryo originated from the universe that we saw in the Adventure Digimon series, so that's both Adventure and 02, with the first WonderSwan game taking place on the Christmas following the events of Adventure, so Christmas 1999. Then Ryo, in another of the WonderSwan games, in Brave Tamer, I believe, is given the choice, or at the end of Tag Tamer, at the start of Brave Tamer, or during Brave Tamer, he is given the choice to change universes, basically, to go back to the one he originated from, where he was causing a bunch of issues, or to start fresh in a new universe, and he chooses to do so, and is then sent to the Digimon Tamers universe, where we see him as a main character, not just a quick blink and you'll miss it few frames where he appears in the background. He's actually a character. So, of course, if you are a fan of the games, you're like, hey, look, there's Ryo. But if you were not a fan of the games, it was just another character who just kind of appeared in Digimon Tamers, who was just already in the digital world with an out-of-control Digimon. The reason for his Digimon being out of control is that the big bad of the Ryo WonderSwan games is actually fused with his partner. So his partner was Monodramon, but then jogressed into Cyberdramon with the big bad Millenniumon. So that's kind of why he's out of control in the Tamers universe. But it wasn't just the Adventure universe and the Tamers universe that Ryo has visited briefly, but he also visited the universe in the first Digimon manga, V-Tamer, or the first manga series, I should clarify. So there were various crossover omake in the V-Tamer manga, where V-Tamer Taichi met various anime protagonists, and Ryo was one of them. He also met Daisuke and Takuya from 02 and Frontier respectively, but he also actually met Taichi from the Digimon Adventure : which was the 2020 reboot of the original Digimon Adventure, and this was in a one-shot that was released to kind of celebrate the release of the reboot, and this was a one-shot in V-Tamer back in the year 2020. So Ryo is the first that comes to mind when you think about characters that either originate from a different universe or have visited other universes or worlds for Digimon. The next one is one that is kind of a main one, but maybe isn't as easy to remember as Ryo, and that is actually the Agumon from Digimon Adventure. Now, of course, he originated from Adventure, but appeared in the crossover event at the end of Digimon Cross Wars The Young Hunters. So, first of all, we've got him originated in the adventure, and then Adventure Agumon crosses over into the Cross Wars universe. And then we have him appearing in Appmon, and this is kind of like an arguable one because I believe him to be the Adventure Agumon, and my reason for that is that the Appmon being all based around specific apps, the app that Agumon comes from is actually a Digimon adventure mobile game that exists in this universe where the events of adventure take place in a mobile game. So this is a game that the main character, Haru, plays, and he mentions defeating Edamon and Meicoomon and other adventure characters, and the background is the very typical Digimon adventure background. So it's arguable if this is Taichi's Agumon from Digimon Adventure or a different one. I personally believe that this is just Agumon from Adventure. There are a couple of hints that support that, but it's not fully, as far as I'm aware, it's not fully part of the lore or canon, but I'm fairly certain that he was meant to be. At the very least, it's a nod to Adventure Agumon, definitely. And then another somewhat questionable one is from the first Digimon Tamers movie, where we have an Omegamon. So Omegamon obviously evolves from Agumon, and he mentions being from a different world, a different universe. So many believe this to be a bit of sign of proof that this is the Omegamon from Digimon Adventure who has crossed over from that universe. Again, not the first character to cross over from the Adventure universe into the Tamers one, with the first, again, being Ryo, but this is Omegamon, so again, part of Agumon. So this is another one that's kind of debatable. It could just be a different Omegamon from a different universe, but how many Omegamon do you know that would just planeswalk like this? I choose to believe that it's Omegamon from Adventure being part of Agumon from Adventure. So Agumon's appeared in quite a few, which kind of makes sense because he is the mascot of the series. So that is something, but this specific Adventure Agumon, not just all Agumon, because all Agumon are different entities, but I believe that these Appmon Agumon and this Omegamon Agumon from Tamers are all the same Adventure Agumon. And then over to the video games, we of course have both Rina and Mirei, who have appeared randomly in various both world and story games. Most recently, they both appeared in Cyber Sleuth and Next Order, and they're also from the other universes as well. Whether or not the world universes are all part of one universe, or if they are just all separate ones, who's to say, but Mirei and Rina have definitely jumped from world to story universes, which are separate entities and universes altogether. Speaking of Next Order, we also have Meicoomon, who appears in Next Order, which, again, it's not explicitly said that this is the Meicoomon from a Digimon Adventure Tri, but it's definitely heavily implied that she is, from the fact that she's infected to the way that she just has memory loss and goes berserk. It's sort of implied that she is the same Meicoomon from Digimon Adventure. This was added in the international version of Next Order, which was released worldwide on the PS4, and this is not on the original Vita version, just the updated version of the game, and this was to coincide with, of course, the release of Digimon Adventure Tri. So I'd be surprised if it was just a separate Meicoomon that just had that. At the very least, it's a reference to Digimon Adventure Tri. I believe it's the same one, but it could just be a reference to the fact that Tri was also coming out when the international edition of Next Order was. And lastly, another pretty well-known one is we have characters from other Bandai properties. So of course we have Nanimon, who was just an Oyajiti from the Tamagotchi universe, who got really drunk, showed up in the digital world, and felt that the only way to survive was to get super, super, super ripped. And then he did, and he became the Nanimon that we know today. It's probably my favourite part of lore. I mentioned it, I mentioned it on Twitter a few years ago, and then I mentioned it again within the last year or so. It's my favourite bit of trivia, and it's something that I really do appreciate. So not only is it crossing over from another world or another universe, it's crossing over from a different Bandai property, which is something that I really appreciate. And then lastly, another fairly well-known one is that Wizardmon and Witchmon and all the Wizardmon kind of recolors, Flame Wizardmon, etc., they're actually all from a different world, another Bandai property called Witchenly. Now, this was kind of put into the canon in the novelization of Digimon Adventure, where Wizardmon explains how he appeared from Witchenly and how he showed up in Digimon Adventure and was kind of lost and then found Tailmon. So between him meeting Tailmon and his birth, he actually describes how he wasn't born in the digital world. He came from this place called Witchenly, which is from the other Bandai property, Magical Witches, which, while it released the same time as Digimon and Tamagotchi, it didn't receive the same success or popularity as the other two. I've gone over the Magical Witches before in a video. I've done a review on my Magical Witch that I own. You can kind of see why it failed, but I've gone over more about why. I'm fully aware why it failed in that video, so check it out if you haven't already. But in terms of this world, this one's kind of a questionable one as well, but mainly because in more recent history, Witchenly has been more or less retconned into actually being part of the digital world. Most recently, we've seen it in Digimon Dreamers, and Digimon Dreamers also shows that other Digimon originate in Witchenly as well, and all it is just an area that has a school where you learn magic, so it's got a lot of magic using Digimon. And it's not really a different world, so to speak, but a different world in part of the digital world in general. So this one has kind of been retconned into being more just another area that you can go to in the digital world, another layer, so to speak, in a similar way to the Agumon worlds, different layers of the internet, and the different layers of the digital world. Somewhere among them is the world of Witchenly. So this one's a little bit harder to say if it's a different world or not, because it was originally a completely different universe in the same way that the Tamagotchi planet and Oyajichi came from that world being a different planet, a different place. This one is more part of the digital world, especially more recently when it's been rewritten into being part of the digital world or closer to the digital world than being just a parallel universe altogether. So that one's a little bit questionable, but more recently it was retconned into being closer to the digital world rather than a separate entity. So overall, those are my main characters, or Digimon or human, who have come from a different universe. So we've got across the anime, across the game, sometimes they show up in different ones, but those are the ones that come to mind when I think about the franchise, or crossing over between other franchises or other seasons within the franchise itself. Of course, I'm always a fan for Tamagotchi characters. I kind of wish we had more that originated from the Tamagotchi planet. I just kind of love that. But in general, those are the favourite ones that I have. Let me know any characters that you know of that have come from different universe in the comment section below. Like this video for, I don't know, characters who can just planeswalk, I guess. I just think it's neat. I feel like the franchise should do it more, because not only do we have other Bandai properties, but there are so many different ways to consume Digimon. It's kind of nice when they all cross over. Like the TCG. The TCG is the biggest crossover event because we have characters from all across the franchise just coming together, but not sure if that really counts. But in any case, thanks for watching this video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. If you have subscribed, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your neighbours, and of course, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!